Hello there, friends. My name is Scott Wakefield, lead pastor at First Christian Church of Greene County, and I'm here tonight with
Jesse Bible, pastor at Encompass Church in Bulls Gap.
And we're going to have a coffee convo. Coffee Convo is live, so jump in on the comments. Let us know you're here and help direct the convo with Jesse. It's a chance to hear about the work of God in his life and in his family and church's life. So that's what we're here to do. So thanks for joining us.
Absolutely. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah.
Excited for the opportunity.
Yeah, I'm glad you came all the way from Bulls Gap.
I know, long drive. Yeah.
How long did it take you to get here did you come from church, come from home?
Yeah, we came from church. So it takes about 20 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say it's not.
No, it's not. We're not too far apart. So, yeah.
To those of us who live in the big city of Greenville.
Yeah.
Bulls Gap.
I think I told you before, I aggravate my sister a lot that she lives all the way in Greenville, and we're 20 minutes away. All our family is close together, so she's the outsider in the family.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Good stuff. So, Jesse, you're a native Greenvillian, Greene Countyan.
I am.
You've lived here your whole life, is that right?
Yeah. I was born and raised in the McDonald community, so I went to school at the elementary school down there. Went to high school at West Greene, and then went to college at ETSU, but essentially been here my entire life.
Yeah. When did you graduate from ETSU?
2012.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So I was on the 5-year program for college. So.
That's okay. I'm on the 25-year master's program.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
So. Going
a tiny little bit at a time. So tell us a little bit more about your growing up life and your family and growing up in Greene County and all that good stuff.
So my father was always my pastor growing up. He is still actually the pastor at the same church. He's been a pastor for, I guess, 40 years now,
cool.
Which is impressive.
That is.
Now that I'm kind of learning some things about that. Was raised in a good Christian family.
Yeah.
I've got 2 older sisters. One of them actually attends FCC, so that is Jill Paris.
Jill's great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then,
Hunter's okay, but Jill's great.
Yeah, they're a little bit different, but both great people in their different ways.
I walk by most weeks and see her in there corralling kids, and they're all listening. She's actually teaching, and I'm like, yes, this is how it's supposed to work.
Well,
she does a great job.
Yeah, so I knew she helped with kids some here. But, and then I've got another sister who is actually a teacher at Mossheim. Of course, Jill's a teacher at Mossheim as well. So I'm the baby of the family. But like I said, went to McDonald, went to West Greene, had a plan that I wanted to be a basketball coach. So that was always the dream. And through a lot of different things, was actually able to coach high school basketball for a couple years.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. I coached at West Greene for 2 years.
Cool.
It about killed me. Like, it was just, very similar to pastoral stuff.
Yeah, in what way?
I mean, just dealing with a lot of mess sometimes, Yeah. And it wasn't even the players. It was, when you love the parents, but sometimes parents are a little challenging. And just like in ministry, sometimes people can be challenging. And so
people
I felt like
difficult.
Yeah, people can be difficult.
Yes. No, I said people are. But
people
go ahead.
are. Oh, yeah,
yes.
yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I understand. But
you said can be.
Yeah.
I said emphatically they are.
Yeah, I would not deny that either.
Yeah.
But, so I went to ETSU with the purpose of becoming a teacher. Didn't really know what area I wanted. Mainly it was so I could coach. So I went in, was a history major for a couple years, changed my major to math, ended up getting a math degree with a PE add-on kind of deal.
Math, yeah.
And so then I ended up actually teaching at West Greene for about 7 years. So I taught algebra there.
7?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I didn't know it was that long.
Yeah, and then I guess about 3 years ago, that's when I started full-time at Encompass. Of course, we started our church, I guess going on 6 years now. So coming September, started in September 2015. So,
September 2015.
Yeah.
So let's get to church soon.
Okay.
Lots to talk about with church and leadership. I love to talk to ministry people. But why don't you tell us a little more about you, Jesse Bible, personality-wise. How would you characterize yourself? Personality-wise.
Personality-wise, just kind of different, I guess you would
Different?
say. Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of, I don't know. I mean,
like the
it
rest of
depends
the
on
world.
the rest of the world. Yeah, I'm the most unique person in the world. I don't know. Like, I'm laid back. That's definitely something that I think people notice pretty quickly. As far as personality, like if you want to go the extrovert, introvert kind of deal.
Bring it on.
I guess I'm somewhere in the middle, and I think that would surprise people because I feel like overall, and my wife would say like I'm a pretty good conversationalist, but at the same time like I prefer to be by myself. So I guess I would, if I had to pick one, more introverted. So I'd enjoy this more like if nobody's in this room, I was by myself. So that's kind of how I fall.
So
there.
Jesse, how are you doing today? I'm doing pretty good. Yes, thanks.
Yeah, that's kind of how I want to be.
So I've got so many ministry questions too that are related to all that. I'm 100% extrovert, and you are tending toward introvert, you'd say, meaning in your natural, like just how God made you.
Right.
You're that way.
Mm-hmm.
How's about how you? That's a ministry question. That's two now that I've had to stop with.
Just tuck them away there.
Yeah, I will. I'll tuck them away. But your wife, Lauren, whom I know some,
right.
I would say is not an introvert.
That tells me that you don't know her extremely well.
I only know her a little bit well.
No, she is actually very introverted.
Really?
She has a hard time. And so she was raised, pretty similarly to me. But as far as, when she came over here, she was kind of thrown in, even when she first moved here from Carolina. And so she's from Shelby, North Carolina. When she moved here, she was thrown into ministry just from my dad's side of it. And so that was kind of a culture shock to her, like, hey, you have to go and talk to people. Like, you can't just sit back and kind of do your own thing. But she has learned, like, God's grace has been very apparent in her life. Like, she is, one of these people who, you put her in front of a crowd, she can speak. And so she's very gifted in that area. But at the same time, a lot like me, she prefers to kind of be in the background, prefers not to have to do a lot of conversating if she can kind of go that route.
She can help it, huh?
Yeah.
Because there are plenty of me around to fill that gap.
Yeah. You are God's gift to people like us. So
let them go. Just let them go. So would you say that between you and Lauren, I don't know why I'm doing this as if I'm Lauren, but who's the fighter, who's the peacemaker? How's that work? Because my wife and I, both fighters.
Okay. Well, and honestly, I think once you get down to it, like we have very similar personalities. And so we both have a fiery side to us. There's no doubt. And I think that surprises some people too. Like I try to be honest about it, but they still think that it's just kind of, oh, you're just saying that.
Because you seem on the outside, your persona seems to be.
It is even keel. And that's kind of been my persona my entire life. Like I don't get too animated about anything. Like when I used to be, a teacher. On the first day of school, I'd tell the kids, like, I want you to understand, it doesn't matter if I've won $1 million or my dog just got ran over. Like, I'm going to look the same. Like, you're never going to know if I hate you or if I love you, that kind of thing. And it kind of made the kids feel like, what is supposed to happen here? And I kind of wanted that to be the case. But in a sense, that's a little bit true. As far as our relationship, again, very similar. And so we get upset about the same things, and that can kind of cause some conflict. But, going forward with that, I think, we're very much alike in how we approach most things.
Cool.
So, which is good and bad sometimes.
Well, it's God put together, man and woman, for a reason. Yeah. So I got a bunch of random questions. We're going to fire them off quickly. Okay. This was not on the list of questions we gave you.
All right.
Except that there would be some random potentially questions. What's the weirdest thing you've ever eaten?
I'm not good at this rapid thing. Like my mind thinks slow.
I know. I was worried about that for myself too, because I'm like, I don't even know what mine is.
I don't know. I don't eat a lot of weird things. Like I eat like a 6-year-old. So, like I don't even like sushi. I don't even know if I've ever eaten sushi.
Preach.
So
I've eaten sushi, but it's disgusting.
Well, okay.
But as soon as you say you don't like sushi, somebody comes right on the heels and like, oh, have you had good sushi? It's about the good sushi.
Yeah, I don't think that'd make a difference for me.
No.
But
raw fish is raw fish.
That's a hard question to start with. So I think
Well, I would probably say my weirdest thing that I've ever eaten is like goat cheese or something like that. So I'm not very exotic.
Well, even for example, I remember in high school we did this like Fear Factor thing.
Yeah.
And they wanted you to think it was blood, and obviously it was like V8 juice. And even me drinking that, I threw up drinking V8 juice. Like I can't even stomach that. So like I have a very I can't handle a lot of weird things. So I don't branch out too far.
I don't. I'm a boring eater.
Yeah.
But let's go on food again. What's your favorite type of donut?
That would definitely be lemon fields.
Lemon
Glazed lemon
filled.
fields.
That is very specific.
It is, and you need to heat it up for 20 seconds in the microwave. So
That
like the
is
lemon
likewise
spreads.
specific.
It is.
Okay. All right. Wow. From a particular place?
Doesn't matter. I mean, typically it's Krispy Kreme, but that's just because that's what I'm used to. But
Yeah, Krispy Kreme.
I'll
is
accept
good.
all lemon donuts.
Yeah. But not like chocolate and rich stuff.
I'm not a big chocolate fan. I mean, I'll eat it, but like I'm going to choose something different normally.
Give me the rich stuff. If you had to eat at one restaurant for the rest of your life, which would you choose?
Like we're talking fast food, probably Steak and Shake. I like Steak and Shake.
Steak and Shake.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I grew up with Steak and Shake, and I like Steak and Shake, but we don't really have it much around here.
Right.
I have found Freddy's to be a nice little, like, sort of like
I've heard people.
a high-end Steak and Shake.
Mm-hmm.
It's
I've
lovely.
never actually eaten at Freddy's.
Yeah, it's
so I
lovely.
need to.
Yeah, all the ingredients are very fresh, and it's well made. It's good. Yeah, I wouldn't eat at Freddy's the rest of my life. I would eat at like a Ruth's Chris or some like real fancy.
Oh yeah,
steak.
you're way fancier than I am. So.
And then of course, staying on the food theme, waffle fries, curly fries, or traditional fries.
I'd have to go with curly fries. I like Arby's fries pretty well.
They're pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have grown to love Chick-fil-A waffle fries, of course.
Now I like Chick-fil-A with the Chick-fil-A sauce, but I get a lot of kind of trash a lot for my thoughts on Chick-fil-A. It's good, but overrated just a little bit in my opinion. I mean, I know that that's the God's chicken, and
It is the
and all
Lord's
that,
chicken.
yeah.
So, I do have some other good ones here. What made you mad this week? This is not food. Let's go serious. What made
What
you
made me
mad
mad this week?
in the last few years? Not a few days.
Last few days. I mean, on the daily and my children. I mean, I don't have to think about it. I don't know what it was, but I'm sure that there was something they
Yeah.
have done that made me mad. Also worked some cattle this week, and that typically brings out a bad side in me.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I know you do some farming.
Mhm.
Like, why? Because they don't do what you want
yeah,
them to.
they don't do what I want them to. Like you're trying to get them down the chute, and they won't go, and then I really have to pray a lot during that time. So it's a good sanctifying process for
Yeah,
me.
for sure. What made you mad recently in spiritual terms, like a righteous anger in ministry? Let's start going.
I mean, here we are. I mean,
Let's go.
We're here now. I know you.
We are.
You were ready to get there. I mean, over the last week, I don't know that I can think of anything. I'm sure there has been something, but COVID in general, just, and I want to be careful. Just like some of the approaches, some of the things that have happened in our church, and just some of the divide that I thought was unnecessary, if you will.
Yeah.
So some righteous anger. I hope it's righteous anger.
Yeah.
About not pursuing unity in Christ.
That's right.
And so, but I will say I think that God has seen us through that, and we're kind of hopefully on
Coming
the
out,
downhill from there.
rebounding.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, we had similar experience for COVID issues for sure. And so like we have in Essentials, convictions, opinions, way of talking about doctrinal stuff. And and in our next steps process for years, we had this chart that we'd show everybody. We'd say, here are our essentials. Here are things that are convictions. We're not going to divide over these. But these are the kinds of things that come in here, and we're certainly not going to divide over opinions. And to think about the things a lot of Christians and people divided over
right.
During COVID world, I'm like,
Yeah.
that doesn't even make the chart. Shouldn't even make the chart.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
We're not talking
And-
about Jesus is fully divine and fully human here. We're talking about like masks.
We are. Yeah, and I really did. I saw both sides. Like
Sure.
I could agree. Like, yeah, I understand where you're coming from. I understand where you're coming from. Absolutely.
Sure.
But we can't let this divide us.
Absolutely.
And so that was some of it too. But again,
Preach.
that I think God's been merciful to us. Overall, I mean, most people were great about it because it was a difficult situation for anybody.
Yes.
I mean, there was not a good answer.
Yes.
So
And no matter where, take masks for example. I knew early on, once we started having people say things like, "Ooh, we're not being safe enough," or "But you're asking people to do anything on just the mask issue." I knew early on, once we started receiving both of those, I thought, oh no,
Mm-hmm.
this is going to be a big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the
I'm
truth
with
is, I mean, we're all fleshly, and we all have these things that, you know, we think our way is right, and it's hard for us. We got blind spots. So.
Absolutely. That's what grace is for.
Absolutely.
What made you content? What made you feel satisfied with God and the world and your family?
Over the past week, or just in general?
Recently.
I think so. For example, when I am together with, you know, our faith family, like, so, you know, whether it's our small group or the men's class, I love our men's class on Wednesday nights.
Yeah.
And so, like, I'm content in those settings because I just feel like we are just pursuing Christ together. Because as you well know, sometimes ministry can be lonely. It's like, what am I doing? Who's here with me?
Yeah, absolutely.
But there's a contentment that I find, obviously on Sunday morning corporate worship, but in the smaller settings with you know, our brothers and sisters who are seeking out Christ, who are trying to learn, who are trying to encourage, who they're open and honest about our flaws and our failures. That's one of our issues too. Like, we just want to put on these masks, you know, not just the COVID mask, but the mask that we have.
Sure.
But yeah, for me, contentment is found, you know, when I'm with my brothers who I know have the same, you know, ambitions.
That's gold. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. I feel similarly when I'm with the body, and I see others who, like me, want godliness in their lives, and they want it for their family and for their kids. Right. That's good stuff. That's so good. We already have a number of questions coming in, so we'll get to those in a bit here.
All right.
What's one thing you don't like sharing?
You don't like sharing?
Yes.
I mean, I know we talked about food a lot, but I feel like I want to go back. That's where my mind automatically went to. Like, I can be pretty selfish when I order something and my kids are like, hey, can I have some of that? And I'm just thinking, no, you can't. Because it's mine.
Because I'm dad.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to pay you the tax. You pay me the dad tax, right? So they're confused.
Yes. Yeah. I worked for the money that,
exactly.
Therefore, this food is mine.
So.
Yeah.
That'd be the biggest one. I'm sure there are many other things.
You don't like sharing food?
Yeah. So.
Like, really? That's like a... If Lauren reaches over on your plate, you're like, hun, come on.
Yeah. I mean,
babe, get...
Yeah, it doesn't do any good, but that's what I'm going to say. So.
That's funny because my wife is always like, oh,
yeah.
Okay.
You just learn to deal with it.
What's mine and it's mine. No, it's not. What's yours is mine. So, some questions have come in.
Okay.
As a native Greene Countian, how do you feel about the influx of transplants from other areas?
Well, I mean, considering that my wife is one of those transplants, I have to be careful how I answer that. But I wonder if the question is more of transplants like recently or just in general.
Whatever.
I'm all about it. Like, let's bring everybody. I would like some diversity in Greene County, just to be honest. I mean, just as far as, you know, I'm not even talking about necessarily ethnicity, like beliefs and how we're raised. Because in Greene County, like, you know, we're a very unique set of people, as in we've been raised this way in general. We've been taught this way. And so sometimes, even for myself, I'm a little bit blindsided. I got blind spots. So when my wife coming from a completely different background, it's been good for me to kind of see, hey, this is what you're not seeing about this kind of deal. Cool.
Bring them on. Charity, our children's person, says that Jill's the best. We're blessed to have her on the kids team. True story. What's your favorite thing about the Bulls Gap community?
I mean, there's so much going on there. There's a lot of
Jesse
choices.
the comedian.
Yeah.
I mean, there's Dairy Queen.
Yeah.
And Subway.
And Wendy's.
Yeah,
I mean, we can't get to Arby's.
And McDonald's all at the same exit.
They moved that to exit 30, which I felt like was kind of not fair to us. But
because of those curly fries.
And honestly, like the Bulls Gap community, I guess my favorite thing is just how low-key it is. I do like that. Like, I'm not cut out for the city. So where my brother-in-law lives, he lives in Greensboro. And, we've been around the Charlotte area. My wife went to school at UNC Charlotte. Like, that's just not for me. So I like the slower pace of Bulls Gap, the metropolitan area of Midway, that
indeed.
kind of deal. So
Metro Midway.
Yeah.
My mom. That's good, Scott. Can we strike that off the record since it's my wife that I'm actually talking about? My wife says It's obvious after spending time with the Bibles how much they love the Lord. We're cheering you on at Encompass here at FCC and are praying for your service there. Good job, Dog and Nini. What do you enjoy doing with your family? What do the Bibles do together? Family time. Push the cattle into the right places.
Yeah,
obviously.
well, their kids aren't ready to see me in that environment yet. But
you do have this low key, like funny, dry thing. I can't do that.
Well,
That's
my
good.
church,
That's
they've kind of got used to that, and that's something our church, like, nobody knows how to respond to me. And my wife was kind of giving me some coaching tips about this interview. She's like, you need to be careful because people don't know how to take you. They think you're going to miss it. And so,
no, it's quality.
But anyway, we like to go. So I'm a big goer, and my wife is not, and so we try to balance that out. But we like to go to the zoo. We like to, just kind of be out and about. We just like to be outside. And just to be honest, like if I'm inside with the kids, that's fine. But if I'm inside too long, like we're all on each other's nerves.
You
so
really are a country boy.
Yeah. So we need to be out doing something.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. I am what they call indoorsy.
Are you?
Yes.
Well,
yes. So.
But me and the kids, we like to play jail a lot. So like they like to run for me and me chase them, and that lasts for about 3 minutes most of the time. Then I'm done. But they enjoy the 3 minutes. So.
Good stuff. What do you miss about being in the classroom?
I miss the relationship with the kids. So obviously any teacher knows like they can be very trying, just like anybody else can. But there is almost this father-like thing that you kind of develop in relationships with students. And I miss that. Now, at the same time, you kind of get that in the church, but you're not seeing necessarily people in church every day for, for hours. But these kids, they're coming in, they've got questions like, you see their good days and bad days. Where at church, it's like you mainly see their good days because that's what they're going to let you see. But I miss that part of it.
Yeah.
But now, as far as the other stuff, I don't miss that much about it. So.
Yeah. What were you glad to leave behind in the classroom?
Mainly just all of the testing stuff. Like, of course, I taught algebra, and I understand a little bit. Like, there has to be certain standards met, but like all the tendency ready testing, I don't even remember what exactly it was, but it was just overwhelming. Like, it was so stressful on teachers, but at the same time, like, it was stressful on kids too. It's like we're putting extra stress on them that doesn't really need to be there, and I feel like we're missing the point a little bit here. So I was kind of glad to leave that part of it behind.
I recognized at a certain point when my kids kept saying, well, we've got this coming up, and it was like a month ahead of time, and that's when it all started being like, we got to catch up this much because we're behind this much in the class. We got to make sure that we push, and then we're just going to be done because then we have to get ready for the test. So the curricular focus was done. It didn't matter.
Right.
Boom, it was the test.
Yeah.
We felt some of that stress.
Yeah, I mean, for example, in an 18-week semester, I'd have to spend the last 3 weeks, like you said, just kind of dropping everything else. Like, we're just going to prep you for this test, and that kind of thing.
Yeah. So let's talk church and ministry and leadership.
I didn't think you liked talking about that.
I love talking about that. I'd rather we have just talked about that the whole time. Because I have nothing else in my life that I care about other than my family and church. And nerdy theological things that few people care about. Okay. So 2015 is when Encompass started. How did you get to like, the Lord's called me to be a pastor, to plant a church? How did all that emerge?
So just trying to think about some of that. So for a long time, seeing my dad be a pastor, my mentality was, I do not want anything to do with that. Now, he was very good and still is about not bringing stuff home. So he wasn't always, but you could just see it, like the weight of it. Yeah. And so that was just something that I had no interest in. Yeah. But 2013, we had a revival at my dad's church at Bible Chapel down in Midway. And Justin Self was preaching. And I don't remember all the details, but I just knew during that moment that God was speaking to me like, you are called into ministry. Now, at that point, I didn't know that meant, pastoral ministry, that kind of thing. Right. So we prayed about that. I guess I had just been married for about a year at that point. So me and Lauren were trying to think, hey, what is God's plan here? And so really, we had always, or soon after that, felt a call to plant a church around here because our church that I was raised in, just a little bit older. And so my dad, and he was very on board with the church plant. So a lot of people like to joke, so you and your dad got mad and you split off his church, that kind of thing. But that was absolutely not the case.
Charles and Andy Stanley, same kind of thing.
Yeah.
Right.
And so we just knew that, that being an older church, maybe the people that we wanted to reach, that church wasn't going to reach them, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And not the gospel can't reach anybody. The gospel can reach anybody anywhere, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And so we started kind of praying through, hey, what does this look like? What's our real goal here? And so what we did for a couple years, we met with 2 other couples. So Mitchell and Brittany Bible, no relation, which is weird. Went to school with him. He's our worship leader in Encompass now.
Cool.
Just super dude. And then Sam Lawson and his wife Cassie. Of course, I went to school with Sam and Mitchell my entire life. And we just started bringing together. And what we do, once a week, we'd have just a little Bible study and just kind of pray, what's God's plan? Then a lot of things unfolded, and we just felt like, okay, we need to start a church. And so from that, we started looking for a building, and I could go on and on. I don't want to take up all the time with this. But long story short, we were able to get the building, one of the buildings in front of the industrial park on the highway there.
Yep.
There for 6 months. God was really moving. Like, I think the first Sunday we had about 70 people, but a lot of that was family and friends. Yeah, I think we got down to about 20 people. After that, it's kind of like, what are we doing here? Like, we have just kind of messed up. Like, we just need to
How
kind of
stupid
start over.
am I?
Yeah. And so,
Lord, you've called me to fail. Thank you.
Yeah, and that's exactly what it felt like.
Yeah, absolutely.
Then we come in during that time. We've grown a little bit since then. I don't care much about numbers. Like, I have to guard myself not to care about numbers, just to be honest.
Sure.
But as far as the building, we were starting to get a little bit tight. We come in.
You do have to make actual decisions about, okay, how many chairs and what kind of room size, and,
there's
and this many kids, and
logistical side of it.
There are logistics that matter.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
And so we came in one Sunday, and there was just for sale sign. We didn't have any, knowledge of it. They hadn't informed us. Like, what are we going to do? Like, we have nowhere to go, and it was really hard even to get that building. And so that
how many folks were you running then?
Usually about 60 or 70 at that point, which is pretty full in that little building.
Cool.
And so we were already, kind of brainstorming, but it was like, okay, we're getting forced a little bit. We're getting a little bit pressured, which was a God thing, because that very week, Brittany Bible, so she was Brittany Chambers, the other worship leader down there, she sent us this picture, just to us 6, so me and Lauren, Mitchell, Brittany, Sam, and Cassie, like, this church building's up for auction. Which is a weird thing. Like, that's a completely different conversation. Like, how often is a church building going for auction?
Not often.
Yeah. And so once she sent that, I was like, I'm kind of upset with her sending it, because it was like a $900,000 building, right? And so here we are, like, we're a new church. We don't have any money, maybe like $5,000 in the bank. Like, thanks for this big tease. Like, okay, let's move on from this.
Yeah.
But we just started praying, like, God, we don't know.
Yeah.
And then, I know it's been a long story, but long story short.
No, it's great.
Like, what happened was just amazing, because at that point, so it came up for auction. We're trying to get, there's a lot of, red tape on this stuff. You have to have so much money down.
Yeah.
You have to have so much, all these different things. And what happened, so we started calling bank to bank. And for whatever reason, there's no bank that gives us a loan. Like, I don't understand that. I mean, we're a church of 10 people. We have no money. Like, why won't you give us $1 million loan?
Hello.
Like, I can't understand.
Yeah.
But legitimately, every bank we called said, no, we can't do it. I mean, very nice about it. We understood.
Yeah.
Had one last shot. And a guy that I lived with in college, Seth Greene, his father-in-law is actually the president of Greenville Federal. I was like, okay, we're going to call in a favor. See if Bobby Wells can help us out.
Yeah.
And so we called Bobby. It's like, here's the situation. And again, at this point, we don't even know that we're getting the building. We just want to have the bank there to say, okay, we can go up this far when we try to buy it at auction.
Right.
And so he says, absolutely. Like, we'll back you up. Again, we have no membership. We have nothing. We have no money in the bank. Again,
That's
a God
the best.
thing. So then we get to auction. What happens? Again, I think it valued at $900,000. We were able to get it for like $335,000.
Awesome.
And it's God is faithful.
Yeah.
Really is what we've seen through that.
Super cool.
Yeah.
Super
we've been
cool.
in that building, I guess, for 5 years now. So.
And pre-COVID, you were what? 250, 300?
Yeah, well, pre-COVID, we were really close to 300. Now, of course, COVID changed everything. So.
COVID's messed up everything for everybody.
Yeah.
That's awesome, dude. That's awesome. Yeah. So cool. And you started with a little Bible study with a few friends.
And luckily in that Bible study, 2 of those 4 are just incredibly talented singers. And so, that was a big thing for us. And, again, God just works in all the details. And that's what...
Yeah, it's not just the money, it's the people.
Yeah, and so often, like, I just miss that in my life. Like, I'm just over, kind of looking at this, and God's over here like, look at the details, how I've operated this. That's what I have to remind myself of. But,
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm just so thankful for the church. Like, we got good people. Like, I know they made some division, but we got people that serve. Like, we've got a church that really wants to advance the kingdom, and I believe that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Would you rather volunteer for children's church nursery or live without squeezed cheese or chicken nuggets for a full year?
I feel like this is from an Encompass person here.
This is
from
somebody that Matthew Carpenter.
You know what's funny? I knew that was Matthew Carpenter, like, when I heard that question. So I knew that would be that man.
Would you rather volunteer for children's church and nursery or live without squeezed cheese or chicken nuggets for a full year? Squeezed cheese is disgusting, by the way.
Well,
you like squeezed cheese?
Yeah, that's another conversation we can have. And I can
no,
fix you
we're
on
not going to
that.
have that conversation.
But,
we could.
I could just eat regular cheese for a year because I couldn't do children's church. Like, there's just no way. Yeah. Like, for example, tonight before I came up here, somebody was a little bit late getting there for the food, so I had to do the food for the kids, and it was bonkers. I was like, I cannot handle this emotionally. So I was very glad to have this meeting tonight so I could leave those kids somewhere.
You're welcome.
Yeah,
I got
God's
you.
providence there.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. Good stuff. Somebody says, been going to Encompass for over a year now. Love this church so much. I've known the Bible family for years. They're a godly family. That's Terry Aiken. Deanna Oninger says, words on foster care adoption. Tell us a little bit about how you got your youngest kiddo.
Okay. So our oldest is now 5 years old, and she has been, no doubt, a gift from God.
Yeah. They all are, whether they're biological or not.
Absolutely. And so for 4 years, me and my wife tried to get pregnant. Some fertility issues there. And we didn't think, after 4 years, went to a lot of doctors, a lot of different things, didn't think we'd be able to have biological kids.
Your oldest is the adopted
It is.
child.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, got it. I got that backwards. Yeah. Okay, yeah.
And so at that point, we'd done some foster care, and it wasn't even, exactly that we wanted to take these kids in. We knew that God had called us to that. We were hoping at the same time that maybe it would turn into that. And my wife can tell you a lot of stories. Like, there was some craziness that happened in foster care. And like, you've been there and experienced it.
Yeah.
But I think at one point, and she might correct me later, there was 10 kids through a few years that were promised to us in one way or another that didn't work out. It's like, God, what are you doing here? Like, it was like, and I was talking to a guy tonight about this kind of thing, like a roller coaster of emotion.
Yeah.
And so what happened, we're still pursuing adoption and foster care. We get a call from my mom, and she worked with this lady who knew, I don't even know all the details. I can't remember. But somebody had a child, didn't want the child. She was a product of rape, was abandoned at the hospital. Like, are you interested? Absolutely, we're interested. And so kind of how the story played out, just to kind of summarize it. We adopted Karis from birth at the hospital. She spent 5 weeks in the NICU because she was NAS, so she was drug exposed. It was a hard beginning for her. It was sad what she's going through, and still she experiences some stuff from that. She's got some gastro issues that we believe stem from that. But yeah, so we were able to have her adopt her. And then I know how the story goes, like you see it all the time, but so we didn't think we'd get pregnant, and then 9 months later, we get pregnant with our youngest, Lainey.
Yeah.
And so now we have 2 girls that are 17 months apart.
Cool.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Clearly, with the call to church and ministry and adoption, you all are thinking, let's see, let's pray.
Right.
Lord, show us. And, you go to bank after bank after bank, or you've got child after child after child, and then he shows up. Good stuff. What is the hardest and best thing about being a senior pastor at a growing church?
I think the hardest thing is feeling like you have so much to get done, but not knowing exactly, not necessarily how to do it, but how to manage your time, how to get that done. That's one of the hardest things. One of the hard things at our church, we have 5 elders, but I'm the only full-time person there. So the others, super guys. Like, you could not find more godly men, and I believe that.
Sure.
But they work full-time.
Yeah, they've got
It's
lives.
like, so what? And they've got kids, and it's like, what do we do here? Like, how can they actually, be here when they want to be here, because they want to be there.
Right.
And so the hardest thing for me, as far as leading a church that's growing, that's got new people in and out, is learning how to shepherd them well, because these guys are doing the best they can, but their time is limited.
Yep.
And so I think just overall that's kind of the biggest issue that we struggle with.
Parceling out time and margin and resources.
So
to
how
shepherd.
much time do you give to sermon prep? How much time
Right.
do you give to counseling? How much time do you give to this when you're just doing the best you can?
Yeah.
And I will say this: like our people, they may complain behind our backs, but they don't. There's not a lot of complaint. Which I mean, that's just what it is. I'm so thankful for them.
No, that's great. Yeah. Good stuff. And so I concur and feel all of that. What's the best thing?
The best thing. Again, it goes back to what I was talking about before. Just when you see people growing, like when you see people who were living a certain lifestyle, but you see them making slowly these steps towards living a life that's sold out for Christ, like that just encourages me. Like that's what makes me want to continue in ministry, like seeing those things, and understanding, what our role is and what we're called to do is to, be examples of life. But then again, what really brings that joy and contentment, if you want to kind of put it like that, is seeing people who are making those strides, who are, doing their best to kill off the flesh and,
That's right.
and walk in the Spirit.
That's right. Good stuff.
But yeah,
Absolutely.
I mean, again, I don't ever want to paint the picture that the ministry is easy. You know much better than I do. It's challenging.
Only because I'm
Is that
old, Jesse.
I'll give you a
Only
yes or
because
no.
I'm old.
Okay, that's what it is. You don't have the energy anymore. That's the only issue. Yeah. But I'm just so thankful for our church.
Absolutely.
I mean, just for the people.
Yeah.
I'm not just kind of blowing smoke. Like, I mean that. Like, what is so good for me is to just, again, be around them and see where they're at and for them to encourage me when I'm struggling, when I need to be called out and those kind of things.
Yeah. I think seeing God work in people's hearts, seeing them grow, being with the body. You were talking about the men's Bible study earlier. Moments like that where you hear someone say, I just realized this week that this thing that I've been holding on to, I don't need to worry about because Jesus made it okay and I can move on. Tiny little things that are comments like that, writ large over and over, and then huge things that, someone gets on screen and says, or up front or in a context like a Bible study and says, like, this is where I was, this is where I am, and it's a big difference. Whether it's that tiny little thing of that just tiny moment of encouragement or the big things that people go, oh, what an awesome testimony. All of that, getting to see that in the body come together in a way that shows that God is actually through his Spirit making it work.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that's the thing for me.
It's unbelievable.
Like
it's a miracle.
I mean, you hit it on the head. Like something that couldn't be done any other way than God and
No
the
way.
Spirit working. And like as you're saying that, like I'm thinking about a couple in our church who have been just such, again, that point of encouragement for me, because it's no doubt like where this man was and where he is now. And again, that has nothing to do with me or the elders.
Right.
Like we want to preach faithfully, let the Word do the work.
Preach.
And so that's kind
Absolutely.
of that's why we trust God with it, and we praise Him for what He's doing. And at the same time, you look at people too, like, why are you not moving faster, right? But then I look at my life too, and I'm like, why am I not moving faster? Like, why am I not getting where I know I should be?
Sure. Yeah. Good stuff. So, let's end with this easy question.
Can't wait.
Dalton wants to know if you're going to make it to basketball tonight or not.
Tell Dalton that he just needs to run a few extra laps, and we'll talk about that later. So.
Good stuff. Thanks for coming on. It's been so good. Yeah, absolutely.
I've enjoyed it.
Thanks for joining us. Hope this was helpful for you and encouraging. Join us next week.